I was being ground down, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that when you're just stuck having to pay loads of bills. You have to work hard to pay all of those bills.
We used to live in Suffolk on the east coast of England, and we were desperate to live a life where we could meet more of our own needs, and we sort of were looking for land, but nothing was affordable, nothing was available to us. So we set off in our camper van to try and find somewhere that felt like home. We made it to Portugal, and we just really love Ireland. We were in Portugal and everyone was like, you've got to live here, like it's affordable, it's sunny. And there was just something that didn't feel like home. And so we chose Ireland. And the reason why Clare is a funny one. I came here 15 years ago to a trad festival, and I just had the time of my life. I just felt completely wild and free. And I was walking along a beach and there was a dolphin swimming in the sea, and I walked into the sea fully clothed and like rubbed the dolphin. And I went home saying, I'm going to live there one day. And then I completely forgot that I'd ever said that. But we've always loved it, haven't we? So we've been back a few times on holiday. And one of the times we were back, Bruce found out his great-grandparents were from this local area, but it was a complete coincidence. Like, we'd already chosen to look for somewhere to live here, and then you got that news, and it just sort of solidified the fact that it felt like home for us.
Yeah, we had a strange kind of magnetism to the place. Like, I love the whole of Ireland, but there's just something about here that just felt right. Can't really kind of give it any more explanation than that, really.
So were you living a more kind of contemporary lifestyle before you decided to come here and be more sustainable?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was running a business at the time, which occupied just all of my headspace. And to be honest with you, I couldn't really think about anything other than work. And I was just work. Annie was at home because we home educate the kids. So she was facilitating that, and she was the one that could see, sort of looking out, what was really going on, which was just I was being ground down, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that when you're just stuck having to pay loads of bills. You have to work hard to pay all of those bills.
We had a really beautiful, like, countryside 4-bedroomed house with 3 bathrooms, and like we were where we were led to believe you're supposed to get to in life. Like, we had it all on paper, but I just had this real like dissatisfaction, and I felt disillusioned. I was like, this isn't making me happy. Bruce is working all the time. This isn't actually how I want life to look. And when you came home that day and I sprung it on you, after months of sort of like thinking it to myself, I finally said it out loud, and it took you a bit of getting used to, didn't it?
Yeah, I kind of felt like I just got all of the plates spinning at the right sort of speed, and I managed to just getting it manageable rather than in a constant panic. Because although we had that house, we had a huge mortgage to go with it. Obviously that was our decision to do that, but a self-imposed pressure.
What was it like adjusting to this different pace and this different environment in terms of how much work you had to put in to kind of set up the homestead?
I actually think because before, sort of winding it back a bit, before we were living in the van travelling, it was a real adjustment to not have anything to do for a while. But in terms of coming here, like, I'd say that I work like way less at the moment, or at least it feels like I'm working way less. Maybe that's because the work I'm doing feels a bit more fulfilling, and a bit more like I'm participating in my own life rather than, I don't know, sort of paying the bills. Like, you're doing everything to sort of pay for the next thing and the next thing. So yeah, I'm a bit, time rich, money poor now that we've kind of made this decision, but it feels much nicer. Feel like you've got space to breathe, space to think. So yeah.
Yeah, this pace of life definitely suits me way better, like, than anything we were doing before.
Mm.
And economically, has it reduced your cost of living?
Oh, hugely, yeah, hugely. I mean, we're in a very fortunate position in the fact that when we sold our house and paid off the mortgage on that we had equity, that we could invest in this place, and so we don't have a mortgage here. We put all of our money into this place, so I think mortgage and rent is, people's biggest outlay, globally as well. I mean, I know here in Ireland rents are extortionate, but where we were in the UK, it was just as bad. So yeah, cost of living is much lower, and hopefully the more we produce our own food and things like that, that'll bring it down sort of again. For heating, we got a wood-fired stove that we burn wood. We're going to be coppicing our own woodland, and
We've actually got a cook stove coming, haven't we?
yeah, we have, yeah.
Yeah. So for 6 months of the year, the wood will heat our house, cook our food, and hopefully, if we can wangle it, heat some hot water as well. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
I think fuel as well is a big cost for people, because we're not having to go out every day. Like, we're not noticing
We
too
could be a
much
week.
of an impact.
We could be a week not using the car, couldn't we?
Yeah.
And we've made a life that we don't want to kind of take holiday from. So I've got no desire to kind of leave here or, go on holiday, go abroad. Like, I'm totally content
It's lucky,
just
really,
to be here.
because we keep adding animals.
Yeah.
What kind of animals have you got at the moment?
So far we've got
Doug.
Doug the dog.
Right on cue, Doug. Coming up. Hello.
We've got Doug the dog, who we had before coming here, and we've got 2 pygmy goats,
2 kittens.
2 kittens. We've got a sheep, a singular pet sheep, who's been wrecking the place, but she's very lovely. And
2
we've-
budgies.
yeah, 2 budgies, and we're hoping to get. We're picking up 2 pigs, 2 Cooney pigs on Friday. So we're just kind of starting off with the animal side of things, and we've got a lot of friends around here that are into kind of regenerative agriculture, and so we're kind of looking into the beginnings of that. But we're complete amateurs. Like, we're not farmers, so we're right at the beginning of our learning journey. So I'm already starting to feel a bit overwhelmed with the amount of animals. So
It just keeps showing up. The budgie was actually found outside the polytunnel. Just Bruce heard a funny chirping noise and looked down, and there was a blue and yellow budgie looking up at him. We don't know where it came from, do we?
No.
And then so we put the shout out, tried to find his original owners. Nobody came forward. So we decided to keep him, and then we got him a friend.
But now I think people have got wind that we just take animals here to look after.
We just say yeah.
So that's how we end up with a pet sheep.
And what kind of vegetables do you have growing on the land?
I'll let you field that one.
Currently we've got potatoes, peas, beans, cauliflowers, broccolis, kale, salad, tomatoes, cucumbers, courgettes, asparagus. Can you think of anything else?
Carrots.
Carrots, parsnips.
Black currants, blueberries. Not many blueberries left now, thanks to the sheep.
Strawberries.
Strawberries, gooseberries.
Jerusalem artichokes.
Yeah.
But we're sort of learning on the job for that as well. We've sort of always grown a small amount, like a tiny veg garden.
Just a little hobby or
Yeah.
thing, wasn't it?
So this is like the biggest scale we've ever done it on. And we didn't prepare any outdoor land, so we just had the polytunnel, and we were like, that's a great place to start, but we've fast run out of space in there. So the pigs are hopefully going to turn our outside space into a perfect growing market garden.
And how much of your food that you consume on a daily basis actually comes from your own garden?
It's a very small percentage
it's
right
really,
now.
I mean, it's more at the moment than it was like a couple of months ago. So we don't buy salads anymore. I don't buy spinach or kale anymore. We've got plenty of that to keep us going. And then the beans and peas just get thrown in to other dishes and meals to sort of make it up.
I think it's probably been quite eye-opening for me anyway, in terms of to how much you would have to grow to be, or to try and be self-sufficient. I don't think necessarily our goal here is to be like completely, well, I don't think it's really possible at the moment to be completely self-sufficient, but there's a lot of inspirational people around the area that do very well, so we're kind of in the perfect place to learn.
Yeah, I've sort of really enjoyed doing it on a small scale, but knowing like next year I want a lot more of this and a lot more of that.
And less of that.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything we want less of yet.
No?
Have you got any ideas?
No, I suppose not actually, I don't know why I said that.
Yeah.
And what, if any, challenges are there to raising kids with this kind of lifestyle where you're probably quite far away from things urban dwellers might take for granted?
Well, it's definitely different. I mean, like our niece and nephew like live in a kind of more city environment, and you can see like the contrast of kind of what they're interested in and what our kids are interested in. So I guess if you're a real city dweller, then maybe this life isn't for you. But for us, it really does work, and the kids are really happy, and they're very outdoors, and they're hands-on with the animals, hands-on with planting. Like that kind of lights them up. But if you're more of an indoors kind of person, and I don't know, like into video games or like that kind of thing, then it's unlikely, I think, that it would be for you. Or maybe you've missed out and you don't know till you give it a go.
And they have access to other things, like they have surf lessons and they go to trapeze classes and jiu-jitsu. Like we actually landed in a really great spot, and we're 10 minutes away from the nearest town and only half an hour away from like the biggest town, like Ennis. And so we have access if we choose to seek it. We can go to the cinema or the leisure centre. Like it's all there.
It's not quite like being in Cork City though, is it?
No, we go to Cork City for holidays and mainly food.
Yeah. Annie's dad lives in Cork, so if we ever really feel like we need a city break, we can go there. He lives right in the city centre. But we don't visit him as much as we probably should, do we?
And would you have any advice for people who would want to pursue a similar path?
I feel actually like I'm in a position of privilege, really, because of the fact that we'd participated in the rat race, for want of a better word, for long enough to have equity in a property to take and invest in somewhere where the prices are lower. But that being said, like I have other friends that they have a lot less money and they've taken different paths. And there's a guy actually, Kyle, and he used to live in Dublin, and he sold everything. I think he bought a cottage and an acre for, I don't know, 20, 30 grand or whatever. And I mean, the cottage is a wreck, and he's really brave for taking it on. But there always seems to be a way somewhere. I have friends that did the same as us, but they moved into a van, save up money. That's the way I think out slightly outside of the box. I think now, from the journey from selling everything and moving into the van, and now getting here, if I was to lose everything, I wouldn't choose the same path to get where I am now, if that makes sense.
Is there anything that you regret about the decision?
No, there's nothing I regret. I think the only thing that I miss probably is like friends. I had a good group of friends at the last place we're at, but I'm fast making new friends there, which is nice.
Would you say it was easy to build up a community in a rural area like this?
It was actually ridiculously easy, and I don't want to say that that's just true across the board, but like our community here is like almost magnetised like to us. I could give like several kind of stories of it coming up. In fact, the nephew of the man that built the house came over with a guy called Tom Barry, who's an organic grower, and just insisted we were growing potatoes this year. And he turned up with farmland manure, trailer of stuff. You couldn't get a fork or a shovel between them, like they were just digging away, and I stood back just watching these guys with years of experience showing me how it's done.
Yeah, they were great, weren't they?
Mm.
I feel if I was going to advise anybody looking to do the same, I think it would be to just be courageous, because that's actually the hardest part, is to step over the edge, for want of a better word, step boldly and go for it, because you don't regret the things that you do. You only regret the things that you wish you'd done. And just go for it. If there's a way to think outside the box or to save money in an alternative way, and you feel called to do it, then just go for it, because once you've said yes, everything else takes care of itself. Everything flows then, once you're living true to your heart, what you want to do. It was beforehand, before we made the decision, we were all over the place, weren't we? What if this, what if that, what's it going to be like? It was all the unknown. But once we'd made the decision and done it, it was
And actually, that
really cool, wasn't it?
That does so we nearly did this years ago, and when Elsie was very young, our eldest, who's now 12, and we were going to communally buy land because we didn't have hardly any money then, and we were going to club all our money together and go and buy some land in Wales and start a community and communally build what we're trying to build now. And it, for one reason or another, it didn't end up going the distance, and then just ended up falling to the back of my priorities, almost like a forgotten dream. It wasn't until actually we moved into the van and we'd sold everything, and like I say, I had that breathing space where I didn't have to go to work and I didn't have any bills to pay, where I had the space to think, what did I actually want to do? And I was like, oh my God, I'm so far away from that dream, it's unreal. So just now turn back round and walk in that direction instead.